And there I have two other quotes about gratitude. One, I have learned silence from the talkative, toleration from the intolerant, and kindness from the unkind. It's strange, I am ungrateful to these teachers. From K. Gibran. 2. Someone I loved once gave me a box full of darkness. It took me years to understand that this too was a gift. From Mary Oliver. And lastly, remember your starting position, your why, and why you started. There are at least 1 billion people on Earth at this moment who would consider their prayers answered if they could trade places with you. Endings are not failures. Saying you need time from a relationship, especially before it is bound to hell, carries much strength. The quality of your love, though, is not defined by how much love certain aspects of a system that is alive at the expense of other parts in it, but by how much and in what ways you love the whole living system. For example, a mother who worries for her child establishes an air of distrust between parent and child. No wonder the little adult rebels. Trusting is understanding. If you want to increase your love, focus on understanding as opposed to merely loving in spite of not loving, or even though. Love is a complete until the condition of there being no conditions to love as is. This mindset that is oriented towards integration is relevant in life too. In school, we learn that mistakes are bad and we are punished for making them. Yet, if you look at the way humans are designed to learn, we learn by making mistakes. We learn to walk by falling down. If we never fell down, we would never walk, according to Robert T. Kiyosaki. Success is to laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics, and endure the betrayal of false friends. To appreciate the beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition. To know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded. From Ralph Waldo Emerson. Do not let self-sacrifice fool you. When alone, you inevitably learn about the relationship, if any, with yourself and thus others. You learn from times You had no time for yourself in the times you have time, seemingly even too much. What if you could never get it done? Self-care is whatever makes you feel more confident, comfortable, good, accomplished, and beautiful from an internal feeling. For example, a woman can call applying makeup self-care if it makes her feel like she is doing it for herself, not just for other people. Pleasing others without pleasing yourself is the opposite of self-care. And yet, what if others? What if the way to keep going was to live for something beyond yourself, or someone beyond yourself? The right partner will not make your dreams, goals, wishes, and needs be put on hold, because your right partner will leave you space for you to do what is best for all of you. Desperation is a byproduct of unfulfilled expectations. Just because you are approached, you do not have to entertain. The more you choose who you entertain, the more precious your attention will become. Self-sacrifice is noble when paired with meaningful service or labor, not without. Beauty does not maintain attraction. Shared experience do, as they develop two people. Men take the world around them for granted a lot. So do women, but women mature into the eternal knowledge of what used to be compared to what I live in now. When they decide they are ready to receive the world. This world is the same that man built and have been building, which is why nature is farther, so to speak, than it has ever been. Farther than it has ever been. Since this is a world built for men, men who are born into comfort also are not shown what it actually takes to evolve into manhood. A society is as the male members of that society, although the woman is the advertiser. As men who are in comfort take the nature around them for granted, one built by them to the most part, they may not realize how nurturing, kind, compassionate, and pleasant nature can actually be. And when I speak of nature unchanged, I literally mean Mother Nature with capital letters, as we call it, the feminine divine with capital letters, that is in close connection with the creative source of all that is. If men did not limit themselves and women around them to monogamy and marriage, women could share a warmer place for nurturing, perhaps. Needless to say, my greatest discovery came when I talked to my Ethiopian friend doing research. He told me that in the country where he grew up, women gathered to cook together and families shared meals this way. I am not exaggerating when I say this changed my view, because it reinforced what I had already known. Africa is source that is of all humanity, where tribes are still alive today. Warm countries accommodate for joy and freedom of self-expression, without houses definitive of providing warmth to people. Men and women act lost in cold climate, but women are most impacted by a lack of physical warmth, as well as children. The house of nature is a containment similar to water when a person's body is immersed in it, a powerhouse. We would not need separation if it was not for the purpose of detachment. The twist in the story, the punchline, is that nature is everything that makes up the physical world. Behind one small physical movement, there is an incredible lack of invisible change taking place. The impact of a butterfly leads to a tornado on the opposite end of the world. Women are like bees. They fly around and produce a sound, but they also rely on what they fly on. A woman cannot be big or small in terms of how much space she takes up, but every atom has its nucleus. God gets to know itself by showing you its other creations. When you make a vibrational improvement, that is proof to God about who God is. When you are faced with something you dislike, that happens because it has potential and thus worth in it. Loyalty's commitment is respect, but not all respect is free of detachment. When we are bombarded with information and lose laser focus in the flood, we cannot stay loyal to ourselves in getting things done. This is where negative emotion plays a role. Readers are good at detachment thanks to their ability to contain a lot of information. As such, they may also be very attached. All winners know that the secret to winning is actually doing things. The secret to making money is getting things done, making things happen. The greatest victory in winning is that efforts and commitment that are consistent lead to change. No winner has not been changed, both by the process it took them to a place of security and by the victory itself. Our emotional compass gets meddled with when we think we can get life either right or wrong. Often, our emotions are the right and the wrong. The famous line, "Are you not tired of always being the one who gives but never receiving?" by the wizardess kept repeating in my head until I realized why. Women do not receive as much as they could from within marriage, which is already palpably breakable. The question refers to the limitedness of the nuclear family and how much even men are exposed to an unrealistic amount of temptation every single day. Women lead to change. Men are exposed to more temptation than they can naturally and easily handle. No wonder both men and women leave marriages. For favor of greener grass. Inconfident women are a rarity in places where the divine feminine is respected. People do not have many layers to blur their vision, and female competition, if any, is very dynamic, nearly unpredictable. Once, as I traveled back from my university, I heard a child whining on the train. Because the train itself provides a physical container, the level of desperation I felt towards wanting to stand up and soothe that child myself is indescribable. I was raised by an ultra-Christian parent who is also a doctor, so I know what I mean when I say I did not do it. It was not legal. After him. Legality is one thing, but we create the world legally when we do not do what is illegal up front. Sometimes doing what is right for us is good for all people involved, the more our compass is calibrated. The reason why I keep talking about emotions is because they reflect our needs. Imagine that as a man, you have a whole array of women to protect you emotionally, without the necessity to depend on them. When quantity increases, quality is challenged. One thing that sustains quality in the intentional tribe is the members knowing each other. Trust and reliance are key factors too. It is because of reliance that women will not abandon the social group and knew who is a member. The mouse who lived in a dark hole never solved the puzzle of getting through a maze, while the mouse who lived under the sun get through the test faster every time. There is a difference between not knowing you can leave something and not leaving because you literally cannot. There is a difference between not knowing or feeling that you can leave and choosing to stay with your clear judgment. There is a difference between not knowing how to solve a puzzle and feeling the solution thanks to memory, brain power, and muscle memory. And the Holy Spirit, of course. I feel like the greatest issue with commitment might be not the ability, courage, and knowledge that lead to a change of scenery. Rather, a lack of incentive to stay is what drove humanity to remain not in the shadow tribe and escape into independence. Most men are finding it gradually harder to date women. The 1% of men, high earning, secure, confident, healthy, get most of the women for logical reasons. The majority of men have 20 times the options of women in their category. 20 times less the options. Let me elaborate. Many married men date other women in secret without warning that they are part of the problem. In fact, most men on the market, so to speak, are married or have been married. The young men who marry anew have a high chance of being virgins. This data looks completely different for women. Women's standards are rising while the pool of men who remain healthy, intelligent, pure, and patient in the mate selection process is getting smaller and smaller. Men no longer date for sex, the primary motivator behind why a man pursues a woman. Men and masculinity are under attack, and empathy and soft skills are what make the world go round now. Approaching women on the streets has almost become illegal. Many men date just to escape from apathy and loneliness, as do many women. It is clear why modern dating itself seems to change the world. The form of community seems inevitable. Housing difficulties also lead to young people depending on communal living rather than living alone with their parents or partners. Once I volunteered at a family of 6. It was clear to me that 1 + 1 = 3 rather than 6. My help was vital. I had been useful and loved and focused. 2 major consequences of capitalism are the overwhelming media and people being hard to find and hard or easy to reach. Being easy to find but hard to reach can be useful in individualism because it ensures relationships quality. Being too easy to reach only ensures relationships quality, not most useful in a world that is already distractive enough. Again, boundaries reign supreme. Once we are with the right people in and of community, we get to be easy to find but hard or easy to reach, depending on whether we are talking about in or out groups. We naturally trust in groups more. In secure containment, men would have relatively unlimited options in a woman, with the only physical boundary being their self-discipline. In Positive Discipline, Jane Nelson writes how discipline is only effective in the long run if kindness and firmness are present at the same time. There is much power in sexual energy if we use it wisely. On the other hand, there may be much to lose if we make sacrifices solely so that we gain something in return. It is only by more supporting each other that they would coexist operationally enable each other to exchange roles, masculine or feminine, giving each other the freedom to thrive rather than just survive at the mercy of a limited number of men. On the other hand, capitalism masculinizes soft women to give up their submissiveness and nurturing qualities, very unnatural for our species. Both men and women cycle. A man's daily pursuit of women who cycle every month is discouraged by individualism because women not only thrive in company, empathy, and humane soft skills. Women depend on people's physical presence the most. In the Bible, women's menstruation is deemed as a time of purification. Things only get ugly during such times if there was much to get cleansed up to begin with. And because we live in a man's world, there is much to cause impurity in women. The woman who gets treated like a woman, who feels like a woman, gets to preserve and protect her purity in prevention, and she is the rarity, thus easily noticed. Self-made women jump through hoops in proving society that women were meant to lead. Motivation only goes so far without inspiration. In a community setting, women blossom and flourish like a flower. On the other hand, there is only one thing worse than living in a man's world without nature or containment, and that is being a woman in a man's world devoid of nature or containment. Women gathering is an opportunity for them to embody their innate femininity without risk of losing it. Sharing and connecting. Women feel good bleeding together and thinking because they get to share intuitive, ancient wisdom, relevant, non-academic knowledge. Daily, weekly rituals are as important as rituals that are held every month or every year. Beyond masculine containment, women's sinking to the moon and other people is what provides an atmosphere of home. Fear disrupts the forming of home. And I'm not talking about the fascinated, terrified fear we should have forgotten towards them. Feng Shui makes it clear that the location can be as important as the people who fill up the home with light. Qi is yet another thing that makes the world go round. Speaking of purity, purity in part means protection from the unwanted, such as soul ties. People reveal their heart intention in how they talk, walk, whether they do. People reveal themselves in the way they talk about others and how they treat people who are below them in the power hierarchy, whether the latter is real or not. Still, a woman below 25 is still to be raised rather than pampered. People, especially the youth, want significance and belonging and responsibility that comes with these things. A woman below 25 is to be taken full responsibility for. She needs a father more than a man of the same age, because a man of her age needs to have had a walkabout alone and when still young to learn survival the way some tribal men from Africa do, because men are people of duty and simple service. They must learn defense and offense before they start serving in the community. Without the masculine aspects of courage, capability, and basic survival skills, plus a home with infrastructure and a paying job in the modern world, a man remains a mama's boy, a paid-on-palm boy. The reason why a woman need not learn survival in nature is that a woman is the gateway to life, both equal to and more than just a void. As I have mentioned, the different roles a woman can take on within a community setting, I would like to emphasize that a primarily masculine role would be for one woman to take care of another during her menstrual period, with the exception of the one who bleeds out of sync with the group. Women who bleed normally and together take on the more feminine role of being taken care of. I still want to speak to how modern dating changes the structure and role of modern relationships. There is a level of estrangement that happens after young people either break up or leave the household. Selena Gomez sings about how people go from people you know to people you don't. Another singer says, somebody that you used to know treats me like a stranger and it feels so wrong. Marriage is only relevant within community because without community there is no one to keep men accountable. There is a reason why bees have a queen. Matriarchy used to be what enabled mothers to pass knowledge on to their children directly. Now that men are attacked, mainly eating products of agriculture and raised by schools, women no longer provide an example of submissiveness. This already puts a lot of weight off daughters' shoulders because the need to redefine motherhood has never been higher. At the same time, men influence women's sense of security by the way they do dating. Men also influence how they view women through the Schrödinger of having seemingly endless options. Unless we stop seeing each other as disposable, we will create a world where none of us matter. Because satisfaction rates are higher in both arranged marriages and marriages where there is a network of individuals beyond the spouse, it is clear that the only way to take each other seriously is through community. Women also endure the limits in athleticism and going to jobs themselves, which only increases their insecurity and distrust once in a man's world. Seeing is perceiving light reflecting from things visible. Women's power may not be visible at all times, but this does not mean it is not real. This is at the core of true female empowerment rather than feminism. Potential is worth. The visible beauty around us is merely a percentage of the truth. Esther Perel once said, emasculation has always been a masculine concern, and competition is not a feminine trait. Female empowerment, therefore, is complementative and respectable, a consequence of physical health, which, according to Teal Swan, is no measure of success in a profoundly unhealthy society. The positive intention behind a man's world is the great masculine. This is the shell of society which has ever allowed humanity to lift itself out of the food chain. My father once told me the story of how cats ate mice, which resulted in a booming human population.